My name is Tracy Gordon. I'm the Registrar of Wills and Clerk of Orphans Court here in the County of Philadelphia. Thank you for inviting me to testify today about Tangled Titles. This is a subject I passionately want our city to address. When a property is in the name of a deceased person, two things can happen. One, it can pass down through the legal process by a will or by intestate law if there's no will. The second thing that can happen is nothing. Nothing. When nothing happens, properties titled to a deceased person become tangled titles. These properties don't create generational wealth. You can't sell them. You can't borrow against them. You can't get FEMA, which is government assistance. You can't get basic system repair grants, which is free money that comes from local, state, and federal. Why? Because they are in the name of a dead person. Often these properties become abandoned buildings, contributing to blight and gentrification. Then comes the crime and the drugs and the violence. Communities suffer, businesses leave, continuing the cycle. The Pew Charitable Trust did a recent study that estimates there are over 10,000 tangled titles in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's not 10,000 people, but 10,000 homes, which means 10,000 families. This crisis has locked up over $1 billion in dead Philadelphia capital. Yes, that's billion with a capital B, and that's a low estimate. We also know from the recent University of Penn study that if just one home gets a BSRP grant, crime drops on that block by 22%. That's a huge drop. And the biggest obstacle to a BRSP grant, free money from the city to fix your home, is being in a tangled title. The Probate Deferment Initiative, or PDI, was designed by my office to assist Philadelphians who found themselves the victim of a tangled title. And they are victims because most don't know they're in tangled titles. The dead people didn't know they were supposed to make wills. This is something that, they were never taught. The city never taught them. The state of Pennsylvania never taught them how to protect your wealth and how to transfer your wealth just in case you die. Too many tangled titles require raising an estate for more than one deceased person. With PDI, my office will defer the probate fees. No probate fee will be collected unless the property is sold. If the relative decides to remain in the property, my office will not seek the probate fee or apply any interest. At our request, Commissioner Deeds, James Leonard, generously agreed to waive the deed filing fee for any PDI recipient. In addition to waiving and deferring fees, we also connect families with the necessary legal assistance. You cannot untangle a title without an attorney assistance. It's too technical. It's legal. They don't know that. They don't even know what a tangled title is. They don't know how to raise an estate, get letters of administration. They don't even know, they thought, Grandma left me this house. This is my father's house. This is my mother's house. They said this is my family's house. This is heir property, which is no such thing. And then now they're hit with, their roof collapsed, or they go to one of your outreach festivals or seminar. You disseminate information to them about all these grants. We just had a Hurricane Edna. It's money. I just got a call from one of our judges. The deadline is coming up for people to be able to get the free federal legal assistance to repair houses that they're not eligible for because the house is not in their name. We are in a pandemic here in the city of Philadelphia. After a recent meeting, we discovered that the need is so great that the nonprofit legal organizations are unable to meet the demand alone. In the 6 months PDI has been active, my office alone has resolved 7 tangled titles, despite having no additional funding or dedicated staff. CLS reported that it was able to raise only 23 estates from 2019 to present. We are aware that they have other client issues to focus on as well, but it is obvious that the Registrar of Wills office and the nonprofit legal community are both needed if we are going to make an impact. This joint effort will require the Registrar of Wills receive adequate funding to make this happen. We also need dedicated administrative staff, including an additional attorney and office equipment to sustain our efforts. I previously forwarded a preliminary budget to Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. I feel confident we can do so much more with appropriate funding. Thanks you for your efforts in addressing tangled titles. I'm always prepared to be an ally in combating the tangled title crisis here in Philadelphia. I want people to stay in their homes. And in closing, I would like to publicly thank Councilman Curtis Jones for being a mentor to me and encouraging me and speaking highly of what I'm able to do over at the Registrar of Wills. I'd like to thank Kathy Gilmore Richardson, who went above beyond and didn't just say, okay, I got out of my tangled title. You know, I'm not worried about everybody else. And she took this as a passion. Councilwoman Jamie Gauthier for being a fearless fighter for homelessness. I think we can make history here by helping people get out of these tangled titles. It's really bigger than a hearing. We may have to get some assistance from the state, which I always proudly say we send between $80 to $100 million in estate and inheritance tax to the city to Harrisburg every single year. We may even be able to get some federal assistance through the Fair Housing Act. I'm doing some research on that to see that we have to help these families. It's not just one home. This is family generational wealth that we bought, but we did not know and understand. We did not understand the dynamics of the educational part, and that's what my office is doing through all of your help, disseminating information. I made sure that I train all your staff, all the state staff. My staff continues to get training. We have remained open throughout the pandemic. We're in room 180 of City Hall. We are open by appointment only. We can be reached at 215-686-6250. I heard somebody had a question. If we don't get to the question, you can also email me at roweonline@phila.gov, and we will answer any question that we can, or we will refer you to these legal agencies that have been that we have been partnering with to assist you all to save your homes. Thank you all, and have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam Register, for your testimony, but also for the way that you have dived right into this issue and took it upon yourself to get out into the community, spread the word about the importance of tangled titles and how people can get help. Your advocacy, your passion around this, and the Probate Deferment Initiative has led to residents receiving a lot of assistance to untangle their titles.
7 families.
It's amazing.
In 6 months.
Yeah. And you've also, beyond the 7 families that you helped directly, you've done a lot to elevate this issue among us as policymakers, which I think will lead to even more progress on the issue in the long run. And so we really, really appreciate your tireless advocacy and your work. I have a question for you. Building off of what one of our previous panelists, Ms. Mahan, said in her testimony, and thinking about the outreach that you've done in the community, do you have suggestions for how the city and its partners can more systematically get the word out to affected homeowners about tangled titles?
This hearing is one, definitely. We're talking about it. And that's the most important thing, that we are all talking about it collectively. You know, we're going to bring the state on. We want to bring the federal on, the legal agencies. We have enough brain power that can put together and make, have our voice heard for advocacy. Another thing we're getting, that's a big thing, that next hearing we have, where we're going to make sure that the funeral parlors and funeral homes have information, and hopefully they can incorporate on their intake form, do you have a will? Or if you don't have a will, you need to go and direct them directly to our office. Once they get to our office, our staff is equipped to help them. So the thing is, this has to be a collective campaign, billboards, along buses, in schools, universities. We have to ask the school board to incorporate estate planning in their curriculums, making it mandatory that they learn, and just, we have to find more funding. I said we had the 80 to 100 million to go to states, so we can partner with our state legislators, or maybe we can find some type of emergency funding so we can do a moratorium, maybe, waive all the taxes or whatever. It has to be, if we do this here in Philadelphia, if we do this is my prediction, and it's proof on all the statistics, we will change the course of history of the 7th largest city in this country. We have the most home ownership as a large city. We certainly send a lot of money to the state, so our land is wealthy. And by the way, 1 billion is underestimating, because if they're going by the BRT, how much our houses are worth, like, for instance, your area, and I know Councilman Curtis Jones may be able to speak to this, your area, Councilwoman Jamie Gauthier, is one of the hot areas that are Tangled Titles. If you look at how much they are worth, those houses are worth a lot of money. Yeah. Location. And we could, I don't know about stopping gentrification, but we could slow it down, and then we can keep people and families in their houses so they can protect their generation well. And the good thing about the PDI program, my program that I'm proud of, and I'm proud that the community legal agencies agreed that when we untangle their title, they are going to make a will, because we got to stop it right there. So we got to, 1, stop the hemorrhaging. And then 2, we got to be very aggressive about educating people to avoid the tangled title.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And we hear you loudly and clearly around this work, and the agencies who are carrying out this work needing to be sufficiently funded to carry it out. I know that there are other questions for Madam Register. I see Councilmember Jones in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Member Gilmore Richardson, for zeroing in on this issue. Madam Register, I just think that you have begun the process of moving the Registers of Wills mission to become more aligned with communities that are disenfranchised, that you're taking complicated issues and taking the time to translate them, showing them their importance. I want to focus my time not so much on the humanity. You got that. You understand what it means to families and neighborhoods and how it's detrimental to the future of those families. I want to talk about or ask questions about the economics. You mentioned that these properties were in the billions. Can you repeat that number again?
They're worth billions of dollars. I mean, okay, say for instance, one home is out of a tangled title and they qualify for the BSRP grants to help them with their, heaters, roofing. That's not only money to help that family, but there has to be people to do all the installation. That's economics right there. That's economics.
I took the liberty of looking at your map you sent. What is interesting, Madam Chair, and members of the committee, is that this map, if you were to juxtapose, put right over it, crime, and make crime maps, where there is tangled title, there happens to be a correlation on high crime rates. If you then take that map and look at sheriff sales, see where they are, because somebody who doesn't have title may not have the interest or wherewithal to want to pay the taxes on it or keep up with reverse mortgages, things like that. And if you look at these maps, they're very similar in a lot of bad ways to problems that we're facing in inner cities. So I'm saying, is there in your mind a correlation, Madam Register, to some of the bad things that we also are facing in other areas?
Absolutely. I can speak as a block captain. An empty building, which in a lot of cases was tangled titles. You know, people just abandoned them or couldn't keep them up, or it was a fire and you can't get homeowners insurance. So that's a liability. You live next door to somebody that's in a tangled title and they're not insured, you know? And I'll tell you, the houses that are abandoned on your block, a lot of times people swat in them, they sell drugs out of them. This is all, one house can totally destroy a block. And I know you know that. We grew up we live in row homes. And so what I'm saying is the crime in that study that the University of Penn did, this is a study, 22%. That's a huge, that's not 3%, 22%. If that one house, that one family was able to get some basic system repair grants to help them fix up and maintain houses that are basically 100 years plus. Not to mention with the climate change, look at the flood. Vine Street was covered. I never thought I would ever see Vine Street covered with water. It's a lot of homes that was affected by that last hurricane. They're not going to be able to get FEMA. Now, FEMA is not even insurance. Insurance is you have to pay for the insurance to be able to get the protection for that liability. FEMA is you just have to be a homeowner and the government will come in and give you money to repair your house. They can't qualify for FEMA. They can't qualify for homeowners insurance. They can't send their children to college. They can't use it as leverage to improve their housing. They can't get licenses, pull licenses to do work on the property. You have to be the homeowner of the property. The high properties are in dead people's name. And what alarms me the most is this office has been in existence since the 1600s. William Penn, the Quakers, the foreparents of this country, they all knew how to transfer their generational wealth. We still have trusts a lot thriving because they left a will with details on how their property was supposed to, continue to exist even in their death. We're saying that people, upon purchase of a home, should at least be given the option, like I was given an option to get life insurance policy because my broker said that I had 4 children. Definitely I was going to get the homeowners insurance because the bank wasn't going to risk a liability. But I would have liked for somebody to say to me as a young woman who was college graduate, educated, hey, you may want to think about a will just in case. And remove this superstition about making wills. It's corny. It's this unbelievable that it's something as simple as a will is not people. I mean, I've talked to rich people too that don't have wills. I've talked to celebrities because I always ask the question, do you have a will? And people say, oh, I'm gonna get around to it. Oh, yeah, get around to it. You make a will when you get an asset. You don't make the will when you get old.
Just finally, because I want to hear from my colleagues. What if you had to pick one city or state that got it right, that is doing Tangled Title in a way that we should emulate, what city or state would that be?
I'll answer it like this. We have 67 counties in the state of Pennsylvania. Tangled Titles is unique to Philadelphia. I asked when I went to the association, they meet every year, beautiful Register of Will Association, and they didn't know what I was even talking about. So,
we might be.
So I answered this too. I did visit Athens, Georgia, and I spoke with the Register of Wills there, and she said that it's not so unique there, but the University of Georgia actually has a Tangled Title unit, and I'm scheduled to go visit with them to talk to them about it. But I'm gonna tell you, it's very unique to Philadelphia, and that's tragic because this is one of the original colonies, the original cities. The idea of making wills and being able to protect your wealth is already in the Constitution. It's no reason why we don't know about it. We have to do better with that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So this is not a distinction that we want as a city. So that sort of drives home all of the hard that we need to do. And Councilmember Jones, thank you for that line of questioning and for making clear the high correlation between this issue and violence in our communities. And because we're citing her work a lot, I also wanted to give a shout out to Dr. Eugenia South. She has done a lot of research around place-based strategies like targeted basic systems repair and tree planting and greening of vacant lots, and how we can see drastic improvements with respect to gun violence in communities, up to 22% or even more in some cases. And she's a Black trauma surgeon and is also a resident of the 3rd District. So I wanted to make sure to give her her shout out. And I know that Councilmember Gilmore Richardson has questions for Madam Register. So go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And thank you, Madam Register. Just want to really thank you for all of the work you have done on Tangled Titles and Deeds in Philadelphia and really educating the public. I have to say, full disclosure, it was one of your programs where I learned new information that made me know and understand that, bringing this issue that my family was facing to some type of resolution was possible. So I have to say that for the record, and thank you so very, very much for all of the education and outreach that you continue to do across the city. I wanted to, for the record, for this hearing, really drill down into the Probate Deferment Initiative so that folks really understand how the program works and if they would be eligible for the program. So could you detail for us the Probate Deferment Initiative and how the process works, meaning when someone calls about PDI, then what are the next steps?
Yes. My solicitor, Sharon Wilson, she's on. Can somebody release her microphone? And she'll be able to give you a step-by-step detailed process. She's been very instrumental in helping us navigate this Probate Deferment Initiative. She's the one that made sure that we found a legal agency that assisted us, which was Christian Legal Clinics. And I'll let her answer that question. Thank you.
My name is Sharon Wilson. As mentioned, I'm the solicitor for the Register of Wills, and really excited about this committee proceeding and happy to discuss our Probate Deferment Initiative. Early in the administration, the Register noted she wanted to handle this problem, to tackle this problem with Tangled Titles. She called a meeting with herself and some of the legal organizations here in Philadelphia to discuss, okay, what's the best way to tackle this? From those meetings, she determined and she listened to those legal service agencies, and they said that the fee that's charged at probate when you have to open an estate can be a deterrent. Tangled titles usually can only be resolved with the opening of an estate because there's a deceased person's name in the title. So you can't do anything until you have a vehicle through which you can operate. And the estate allows you to do that. You have to open up an estate, whether there's a will or because you'll either be applying the will or you'll be applying the laws of intestacy. So this program will actually allow the person who's applying to open an estate to defer paying the probate fee. The probate fee can range up or down depending upon the value of the property involved. And as the register mentioned, even though the property may look decrepit, it may have a certain value that could have the fee be higher than our average, which is about $500. And remember, that's $500 per estate. So if you're trying to open a property which was owned by grandma, and then the only child of grandma passed, you're now, very easily facing having to open several estates. And also remember that probate fees are just one of the fees that you have to pay. There may also be back real estate taxes. There may also be inheritance tax due. So enable to at least allow people to move forward and to get over the sort of psychological and financial hurdle of opening up an estate. We initiated the PDI program to defer the fee. The fee is deferred during the time of probate, and thereafter, the register does not attempt to collect the fee and applies no interest on the fee while the relative remains in the home. So if you just are trying to, as we heard testimony earlier from Michelle, you just try to get your home titled properly so you can continue to stay there and take advantage of these programs that are available, you'll never have to pay that deferred fee. When the house is sold, however, that's when the register would look to collect that fee for payment. As a collection agent, because the Register of Wills office is a collection agent for the state of Pennsylvania, it was unclear as to whether or not we could waive the fee. I mean, our job is to collect the monies. But this allowed us to move forward without having to go through that process, although we haven't given up that process, but to go through what would probably be a lengthy process in order to just get those fees cleared out. We have talked to several clients regarding this waiver of the fee and payment only upon sale, and none of the clients that we've talked to thus far expressed any hesitation merely because the fee was there, but what may be collected upon some later date. So in addition to allowing the waiver of the fee, we also have a list of organizations that refer to organizations so that they begin the process of untangling the title in with whatever court that they need to in order to begin that process. So it's a process that allows waiver of the fee as well as to begin the tangled title process, the legal process attendant with it. There's an application. We actually did begin focusing on lower income residents first. One, because we knew that they would have the least access to services and resources. And two, because they would automatically qualify for the legal service organizations by virtue of their income. It's our hope to expand the program because this isn't a problem that just happens to lower income communities. And middle income communities are having some of the same problems because people may not be poor, but it takes a certain amount of funds to get this done. And the legal process, as I think Garrett testified to earlier from Pew, can take a substantial amount of money between $8,000 and $10,000. So that's the program we have instituted to date. And as she's mentioned, we've had at least 7 successful clients and families go through. We have others in the pipeline that we're excited to assist as well.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And thank you again for your work on PDI. and for really detailing how Philadelphians, particularly low-income Philadelphians, could be involved in the program. I just wanted to ask you, because Madam Register talked about the 7 Tangled Titles that you all were able to resolve. Can you share more with us about that work and the process that those clients went through to come to resolution?
Sure. They would usually, it starts with an inquiry to our Row Online email box. We have a email just for PDI programming. So we run the program through our legal department, even though, as the Register mentioned, we don't have dedicated staff or resources for this. We are really stretching ourselves because this is a passion that she really wants to address. So we run it through that legal department. They begin the process with an application and a referral to a legal services provider. We confirm that they in fact have that provider. They then make an appointment for probate. We have established a special lane for PDI clients so that they can get into probate. Probate can be a pretty long wait these days because COVID has had such an impact on our office. There's been so many additional deaths and disabilities, and it's sent people to our office in a way that we are really full of just trying to handle that population. But again, we made a decision by stretching employee resources that we would create this little lane for PDI to make sure that it happens. So once that occurs, the probate clerk is alerted that this is a PDI case. So they know to go through the process, to put it in a particular lane, and then to not charge the client a fee. The application has an internal review at that time. And if in fact they're accepted and we haven't really turned anyone away that meets our process, then we institute a lien for that $500 so that it remains there, so that the city can get their money eventually and that the state will get their money. So it's a process that allows the family to go forward, but ultimately doesn't deprive the city or the state of any monies, because absent this program, they would have never seen this money anyway. These people would have never gone through this process. We also issue a deed waiver that the Department of Records has agreed to accept. At the conclusion of probate, a deed can be drafted giving this property to the appropriate relative. It can be filed at the Department of Records for no fee. That's not the same as saying that there's no transfer fee. And there usually isn't between the parties, but this is a filing fee. There's no filing fee. And thereafter, they go through the normal process. At any time, one of these clients can come in and say to us, hey, we have the money now to pay this, and we'll collect that fee at that time. And sometimes it's because you need an estate in order to access the monies. So they are really in a catch-22 when they can't open up an estate because the monies are sitting there, but they don't have the authority to receive the monies. So once we do that, it can sort of unlock that door for them. And if those monies are available to them, we say, we judge the little nudge, we want our monies, thank you. And we go forward at that point. And the final step, we at least remind them to say, hey, you need a will. Where is your will? And they talk to their legal service representative to get that will done.
Okay, and just to confirm though, so the folks that come through PDI, when they need assistance from an attorney, they are transferred to one of the legal aid organizations.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.